The spring football game in Oxford, Mississippi this past week was more free-flowing than a preseason NBA game, and that is exactly the way that Lane Kiffin wanted it. We're going to break it down here on Southeastern 14. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Southeastern 14. I am Blayne Gilmer. I cover SEC football here on the Southeastern 14 channel all year round. And Chris Lee, Blake Lebel, they'll be joining me in coverage. We have some exciting things coming for you, whether it's a season preview that's coming up that you'll be able to get from us here, and then also videos that we put out each and every day. Chris and Blake also cover SEC basketball, SEC baseball. So a lot of stuff here. We try to cover it differently than anyone else. So if you like the content, subscribe, like, turn on notifications. But right now we're here to talk about the Portal King, hashtag come to the sip, Lane Kiffin. He's always entertaining. It's always going to be interesting. You're always going to enjoy hearing what Lane Kiffin has to say, especially in a setting like a spring game where, you know, it's loose, it's free. And that is one thing that Lane Kiffin wanted to make sure of. And we kind of got that feeling before his spring game even took place, because on the Thursday night before the Ole Miss spring game, Lane puts this up on Twitter. It's the fire emoji directed. He actually tagged the Florida Gators, you see, as they're in a 7-7 defensive battle in the middle of their spring contest. Austin Armstrong was blitzing like crazy against the Florida Gators offense, and just didn't allow their, playmakers to look like they're really getting going. They had young quarterbacks and stuff like that going, young in terms of their experience at Florida. Graham Mertz has been around a lot at Wisconsin, but Lane Kiffin was absolutely at his peak troll right there against Florida. So Pete Golden even told the commentators coming in, Ole Miss's new defensive coordinator, that this game was going to be like, 82-81 or something along those lines, because they were just allowed to play base defense. And quite honestly, you couldn't tell a whole lot about the lines of scrimmage in this game, and you really couldn't tell a whole lot about Pete Golden's defense in this game, because it was glorified two-hand touch, kind of patty cake up front a little bit. Lane wanted it to be very free-flowing. He wanted there to be some good look, some confidence for his quarterbacks, for his playmakers out there. And, anytime he gets a chance to be on, whether even if it's ESPN Plus, he wants a chance to market his program towards people that may want to transfer in, particularly people who are skill players. So, that's what this was about for Ole Miss. And I think the thing that you saw was the athleticism of some of the weapons that Lane Kiffin has brought in via the transfer portal, whether that be Michael Trigg, whether that be Chris Marshall. Some of these guys are tremendously athletic. Even Ulysses Bentley, who came in before last season, got injured against Georgia Tech. He flashed. He looked very explosive during this game. Had 10 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown. One of them was a longer touchdown run. I'm surprised that Quinshon Judkins even played as much as he did. I would put that guy in bubble wrap after his almost 1,600-yard season last year as a true freshman. I don't even know that I would have let him play in this game. But, I'm surprised with how protective Lane was of everybody. Definitely wanted everybody to stay up, just kind of wrap up, not take each other to the ground. So, listen, I don't think that's a bad attitude to have. You got to take care of your own. Maybe we'll see something different if people are allowed to scrimmage other teams during the spring going forward. But the big thing here was the quarterback battle. Three-way quarterback battle. Most people think it's really more of a two-way battle between Jaxon Dart, Spencer Saunders, Walker Howard, though. If you're an Ole Miss fan and you watch this, or you're anybody watching this, as I was, I came away more impressed with Walker Howard, his ability to throw on the move, his ability to be able to throw on time and with accuracy. Walker Howard was very impressive. And I think that is going to be a guy that will, before it's all said and done, have tremendous success for Lane Kiffin in Oxford. 11 of 13 passing, 184 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, taking care of the ball, looked in control of the offense, and he played with both teams. So he was an equal opportunity guy over there. Jaxon Dart was on the red team. He completed 18 of 37. You want to see that completion percentage a little bit higher, 302 yards and 1 touchdown. They allowed him to rush, but it was kind of, you don't know really how successful they were rushing because it was a tag off situation. So that was interesting to me. Spencer Saunders, 19 of 27, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Carried the ball 6 times for 72 yards and scored a touchdown. At the end of the day, I know Jaxon Dart was there last year. I know Jaxon Dart has worked his tail off, tried to compete and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, you have 2 guys that are different in one way, and that's the clutch gene. There's been big moments for Spencer Saunders at Oklahoma State where he has come up big for Mike Gundy, and he's been in tight situations and he's been able to produce. And the same cannot be said right now for Jaxon Dart. When the chips were on the table last year, Jaxon Dart folded. They were able to win those first 7 games of the year last year. But then when it got to be some rough waters, when you had to go to LSU, face LSU, when you had to face Alabama late in the year and you needed a drive at the end, Jaxon Dart is quite simply not accurate enough right now, and that still bared out in the spring game here. I know Spencer Saunders has struggled with accuracy, but he looked more efficient, even though he threw that one ball a little bit farther inside than he needed to on the outside fade. Let it get tipped up and it got intercepted. I think Spencer Saunders gives his receivers a chance, gives the guys an opportunity to make plays, and he is going to be a guy that is an absolute load running the football. He brings a different dimension. He's not just a guy who can make plays with his legs, because we all know that Jaxon Dart can make plays with his legs, but Spencer Saunders, I think, is a guy who not only makes people miss, but he breaks tackles, and really you have to truly account for him. Now, I know Jaxon Dart, like I said, successful rusher, but I think Spencer Saunders takes it to a whole nother level when he comes next year. Hey, 4.8 yards per carry for Jaxon Dart, but a lot of that had to do with the success, the 2-headed monster in the backfield of Quinshon, Judkins, and Zach Evans back there. Now, of course, you have Ulysses Bentley, who's going to get those carries that Zach Evans vacates with his move to the NFL. I think when it comes to having guys like Jordan Watkins, Michael Trigg, and Chris Marshall, you have to find a quarterback that is going to have confidence in those late game situations to stick through his progressions and find the open guy. Jaxon Dart was too quick to get off of his it was one read and then try to run last year, and Alabama almost baited him into it at times. LSU did the same. I think Spencer Saunders was hurt in the spring, didn't have quite as much opportunity, or I think he would have separated himself more. It's going to be interesting, but I wouldn't totally count out Walker Howard at this point in time because that young man looked fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Now, the question for Ole Miss is, can they be better defensively? They were more of that 3-2-6 scheme, kind of just trying to run and attack type deal, not really more of a bend type but don't break type style. Points against, 332 points against them last year, 25.5 points a game. That's 57th in the country, and that was even bolstered by an early and pretty easy early schedule that they had against some teams that they definitely took advantage of beating. You're talking about that holding Troy to 10 points, Central Arkansas last year, 10 points. Georgia Tech was absolutely awful, but then it started to rear its head a little bit when you played a good Tulsa team, a Tulsa team whose offensive coordinator is now whose head coach is now the offensive coordinator for Hugh Freeze at Auburn and Philip Montgomery. So you'll see that style of offense again if you're Ole Miss. You're talking about Vanderbilt scored 24 on them, Auburn 34. Even though they're winning these games, they're winning them in the style where, okay, they're outscoring the opponent, and then that didn't turn out well. Against LSU, Alabama put 30 on them. Arkansas hung 42. And then, of course, the Egg Bowl and the bowl game against Texas Tech was not very good defensively. So Pete Golden, it was hard. Like we said, it was hard to tell a whole lot about his defense at this spring game. But as we kind of touched on before, one thing we know for certain is get Quinshon Judkins the ball. Quinshon Judkins, Michael Trigg is a beast. The concentration that he had to kind of he was falling down, still made a catch. I think Jordan Watkins, he's the team's leading returning receiver. He's going to be excellent, going to be a guy that kind of is that chain mover type piece and can also make the explosive play from time to time. But Chris Marshall is that big time guy. Judkins, Marshall, Trigg, those are the three names that you really need to know for Ole Miss going into the 2023 season, regardless of which quarterback is going to be there. They've got some experience on the offensive line. So I think this is going to be a team that is going to be able to move the football, obviously under Lane Kiffin, and it's still going to be run the ball until they won't let us style of offense, particularly with Dart and Saunders being the two guys that figure to play quarterback. That'll change, I think, when Walker Howard's in there because he looks like a true, just a true gunslinger guy that is able to come in there and have a lot of confidence in his arms, throw it accurately, and just be able to distribute the ball to playmakers effectively. So, quarterback battle still ongoing. There's a lot of playmakers to be made, and Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. are over there dialing up some terrific plays. Pete Golden, can he just make the defense a little bit better? That's all he's got to do. That's all he's got to do. Just make it a little bit better, and Ole Miss could have some success this year. So for Southeastern 14, I am Blayne Gilmer. Leave your comments below. We'd love to know what you thought of Ole Miss this spring, and we look forward to covering the Lane Train and all the other SEC teams this fall. For Southeastern 14, I am Blayne Gilmer, and we'll catch you guys next time.